If you're looking behind me, we don't typically have 70s flower power happening every week. Okay, but a beautiful job giving us a little Scooby-Doo vibe today. Did anybody grow up watching Scooby-Doo? Scooby-Doo was my jam back in the day. So maybe it's a little personal for me that I was like, hey, let's make this feel this way, right? The zoinks, right? Like I was here for it. Scooby Snacks, the whole 9 yards, right? I love it. We love a good mystery, do we not? You love a mystery movie where, you know, the whodunit? You know, the best movies are the ones that keep you on your toes the whole time until the very end. Then it's hard to do these days, but the big reveal, you know, and was the mystery is solved. Or the book, you know, and it becomes the page turner and you can't even go to bed. For those of you that read, right? You can't put it down. I know a lot of people don't read books anymore, okay? I get it, okay? We love a good mystery. We love the escape rooms, right? You're trying to solve it, trying to figure it out. The scavenger hunt. But then there's the mysteries that we do not like, right? There are mysteries about this life that are, in fact, mysteries that frustrate us, do they not? Things that you just can't figure out. Why is this happening? In a small version scale of this, you got your AirPods in and you drop one. You drop it. But you drop it and you know where it landed. It dropped right in front of you. You're sitting in the chair. It falls off the arm of the chair. It should be right here. And yet it has been sucked into some fifth dimension. It just disappears. Where did it go? Right? The AirPod or whatever it is that you drop. And you're like, how can I not find this? It should be right here. It is a mystery, isn't it? Or you have the mystery of, on a more serious note, you go to that doctor and they just can't seem to figure out what is ailing you. The problem at hand, it's a mystery. It's the kind of mystery you don't want. You don't want to feel this way. You don't want those unknowns. You don't want experts not being able to tell you exactly what the situation is or the problem is. That's medical. The same thing also happens financially, does it not? Where you find yourself frustrated over and over again, and it's like there's a monster, a boogeyman, so to speak, that just continues to rob you of getting ahead. It's like one step forward, 2, 3, sometimes 17 steps back. And you're like, how does this keep happening? On the moment of breakthrough, the cusp of this, I feel like I've been sucked into this mystery where I just can't seem to get financial breakthrough. I can't get ahead, whether you're in college, whether you're in high school or middle school, whether you're way down with salaries and jobs and new jobs, and should I get the new job and this and that, and feels like a mystery, doesn't it? And so today, we are beginning a series that feels a little Scooby-Doo-ish. It's called Money Monsters. And in the spirit of Scooby-Doo, right, every episode ends, right, and it's Dusty Jenkins, right, who's been with us the whole time. And the mask comes off and the big reveal. It wasn't really that much of a mystery after all, right? You were here the whole time. And so much of things that ail us, spiritually speaking, and certainly financial, are the kind of things when you pull the mask off and you have the big reveal, you realize, that was here the whole time. And I didn't see it. I didn't know it. I wasn't catching on. And so today, we begin our first message in the Money Monsters series. This is one of the first series, might I add, that we've done that's exclusively about money and stewardship. And I'm excited about it. As a money person, my major was finance and economics. It wasn't actually ministry. Surprise, right? And so I enjoy talking about finances and giving and helping people get out of the trap, the mystery of things that just keep eating your lunch. You guys with me? Tracking. Turn to turn to Deuteronomy. Here's your question for today. I've already kind of voiced it, but why do I feel frustrated and stuck? Right? This is the question, right? That it is ailing so many of us on a consistent basis. Why do I feel financially frustrated? And why do I feel financially stuck? What is going on? What mystery is at work? I love what we see in the book of Deuteronomy, not a book that you probably are turning to every single week or every single day. But here we have the nation of Israel, and they're getting ready to cross over into the promised land. Okay? The land that God has promised them, the land flowing with milk and honey. This is the land of prosperity that God has promised them. But understand, if we walk backwards a little bit, if we rewind the tape, rewind the clock a little bit, what you have is Israel having wandered in the desert for 40 years. They have not trusted God. And part of the consequence of their unbelief is that God says, look, here's what's going to happen. You're going to wander in this desert until you learn this lesson. And so they've been in the desert, the wilderness, for 40 years. They were supposed to have stepped into the promised land 40 years prior. But they wouldn't trust God. And so now, 40 years later, having learned this lesson, God is giving them some encouraging words before they step in for the first time into the land flowing with milk and honey, the land that is prosperous, the land that they've dreamed of. They are leaving the wilderness. And so this is what God says. The text will have verse 18 behind me in just a minute, but before we get to verse 18, here's what God says. He says, be careful that you don't forget the Lord your God. Otherwise, when you eat and are satisfied, when you build fine houses and settle down, then your heart will become proud, and you will forget the Lord your God who brought you out of Egypt. The place of hardship, the place of difficulty, the place of enslavement, you're about to step into a place that is the bomb, that is awesome. You're going to love it here, right? I promised it to you, right? And so you're about to taste it for the very first time. And when you do and things are going well and woo, you got a nice house, woo, you're settling down. Things feel good. There's going to be a temptation. And what is that temptation? To forget the Lord your God, who is the one who did all this. Don't forget. And then in verse 18, boils it all down to this. Remember the Lord your God, for it is He who gives you the ability to produce wealth. In other words, don't forget who your true provider is. And when life gets good, don't say to yourself, my hands earned this. It's the Lord your God who gives you the ability to produce wealth. Everything that you got going on in your life, church, ultimately comes down to this. God did it. God gave it to you. God orchestrated. I'm not taking away from the reality that you're a hard worker. I'm not taking away the fact that you got some talent and you worked hard at that talent. I'm not taking away any of that. But what I am saying is that even just the sheer fact that you have oxygen in your lungs is because God has orchestrated this world in such a way that when you breathe in, you have oxygen coming into your lungs. God is the one who is the ultimate provider. And so we begin the message. This isn't the big reveal at the end. This is a big reveal at the beginning. Two things that are foundational for the entire teaching series that we are in. If you want to understand the mystery, the money monster, the mystery of finances, then begin right here. God is our ultimate provider. And God is in control. God is your ultimate provider, and God is in control. This is a heart issue. This whole series, it's not going to stay here. We're going to get into some things like debt, how to get out of it. We're going to get into some things like, what does it mean to give? And what does generosity really look like? But before we get to any of those things, the practical outworking of generosity and finances and how you manage things and tithing and giving and helping the poor and all the things, before any of that, it starts right here in your heart. In other words, the greatest financial monster does not begin in your bank. It begins in your heart. And what is that monster? It is the monster of control. Don't we love to be in control? I know I do. In fact, a financial term, literally a position, right? In like an investment is a controller, right? I mean, you have this idea that in the deception that we are in control. And by virtue of me standing up here and saying that you are not, some of you right here, right now, are bothered. Like you feel it rising up inside of you. Ugh. Big reveal, but surprise, it's not that much of a surprise. We aren't designed to be in control of our lives. We aren't. You haven't been designed to carry that weight or to carry that burden. I got news for you, and it's good news. You're not in control, and you are not your provider. And everybody said, Amen. Amen. With a deep breath. You're not. So what is God doing here? I want to make sure as we transition into 1 Kings, what I don't want to do is make light of challenges that people are facing. I do not want you to hear this. When Andy is up here talking and saying your real problem isn't your bank account, I'm not saying that there aren't real bank account problems. I'm not sitting here saying that you don't need necessarily more money or breakthrough or resources. I'm not saying that. I'm not suggesting that you don't need a side hustle or a miracle. I want you to hear me. I am not making light of the realities, sometimes real realities, like financial hardship that has come upon you. And so when a pastor comes up here, it can sound a little lofty and a little privileged, like, come on, bro, do you have any idea what I'm really carrying? College tuition, rent, food, bills, all the things. I am drowning here, and you're telling me that my primary issue is heart issue. And I am saying that. I'm saying it begins in your heart. I'm not saying it stays there. I'm not saying it doesn't have real implications elsewhere. But what I am saying is that this conversation, the foundation of breaking through, begins with your heart. 1 Kings chapter 17, we're going to see God getting after a man's heart. This is Elijah. Elijah is God's prophet in the Old Testament, or one of his prophets. He's one of the main guys, the main event here. It's Elijah, okay? The forerunner. John the Baptist was considered like somebody who walked in the same grace and spirit and power of Elijah. And Elijah has just given King Ahab the rebuke of his life. Ahab and Jezebel, wicked king, wicked queen. He's doing what God has asked them to do, and he's come like a true prophet, right? And he is the man of God in this moment. And he's let them know that famine's coming to your land. You know, there's, in other words, like old Wild West, a storm's a-coming, right? And it's got your name written all over it. Lets them know, and they're not happy, and so what do they want? They want him dead. And so Elijah, he runs, right? But it's not because he didn't trust God in this moment. God is literally telling him to. And in verse 2 of chapter 17, the word of the Lord came to Elijah. Leave here, turn eastward, and hide in the Kerith ravine east of the Jordan. East of the Jordan here. In other words, put on your running shoes, Elijah. You got to get out of here. Right? But what you may not know geographically here is that this is movement away from Israel. This is movement away from Jerusalem. This is movement away from God's provision, God's protection, God's safety. This would be antithetical. This would not be the direction that you would expect Elijah to be running in order for God to provide for him. And yet he is. In fact, God sends him to a ravine called the Kerith ravine. And what does that ravine mean in Hebrew? It means a place where you are cut off, where you are separated. And so God is sending his guy, his man, to a ravine that literally means you're cut off, you're separated, you are on your own. You're not, but it's going to feel that way. And so what is happening here? God is stripping away all of the things that Elijah can put his trust in, his faith in, to anchor his soul in. We would call those things false securities. God is removing the things that Elijah can put his hope in. Everybody say false security. False security. It's easy to do, isn't it? When it comes to your provision and when it comes to controlling your life, it is so easy to put your faith and trust in things that are false securities, even things that are good. Your job, I have great news for you, is good. I'm happy that you have a job. I'm happy that you've got that automatic paycheck getting deposited into your account. Come on, somebody. Hallelujah. Thank you. Right? You got something happening. That is a good thing. But you can put too much faith and too much trust in that job or in that employer or in that side hustle or in your effort or in your ability, and it becomes a security that God never designed it to become. Who is your provider? Who is in control? And so here we have an example of Elijah. He's being stripped of that which he can provide for himself and that which he can control. Just maybe 2 weeks ago, I leave a coffee. I'm on the phone in my car. The coffee, by the way, was a Bible study. It was great. You know, amazing ministries happening. I get on the phone as I'm driving home and I call my mechanic because I'm waiting for a part to come in to fix my taillight and my brake light, which are having electrical problems. It's not just a simple bulb. So I'm waiting for this part to come in and it hasn't come in. So I call and I'm being faithful. I'm being a good citizen, right? In trying to have my car up to snuff. I get on the phone and I'm talking to somebody here in this church and I'm letting them know, hey, you know what? I wanted to encourage you. I wanted you to hear some great testimonies of all that God is doing. In fact, you won't believe what just happened in this coffee that I just had, right? You've been praying for this person and I want you to know what just took place. This person just put their faith in Jesus. It was awesome. It was great. And you've been praying for them. And I want you to, whoop, whoop. Lights in the rearview mirror. I'm like, are you kidding me right now? Are you joking with me right now? Lord? Pull over. I'm like, hey, sorry, person in the church. I'm being pulled over by the police. I'll have to call you back. I walk up to the car, window down. You know, you do it, you know what I mean? Like, you're doing everything to be as presentable as you can. You know, even like cleaning up your car, I'm immediately like, you know, I am as upstanding as I possibly can be. They come over to the car, license and registration. Do you know, sir, that your brake light and your tail light are out? Funny you should say that. I just got off the phone. You're going to have a hard time believing this, but I just hung up the phone with the mechanic. I promise. I'm waiting for a part. License and registration. I'm going to go back to my car. You stay seated. I'm going to run this. I'm going to get the details. I'm like, oh, come on. Are you joking me right now? Now, you got to know something about me in this moment. This has been a long build-up. And most of these things have been financial, where one thing after the next, where I'm like, God, are you kidding me right now? What is the deal? Right? I had snakes coming down from my attic into my house and had to pay through the nose for, a special service to come and remove snakes. How does this even happen? This is demonic, right? My car is on the verge of getting towed in this moment. I'm getting a ticket in this moment. The transmission is going out on the car here, right? And medical bills here. God, how long is it going to take, God? That is literally the prayer in my driver's seat as the officer is running my license and registration. God, how long are you going to do this? I felt the Holy Spirit in this moment, while I'm waiting for a ticket. I felt the Holy Spirit turn it right back on me and say, you tell me, how long is it going to take you to learn this lesson? What you may not know is that, all these things that have been stacking up. So I'm in my living room and, I got the whiteboard out and, we're going to figure out this side hustle here. I'm going to make a little bit of extra money here. We're going to do this. I'm going to pay this down. I'm going to spend a little extra time over here. I got this. I'm going to donate plasma and I'm going to get a little extra cash this way. We're going to get this junk done. And Lord, I haven't even invited you into that conversation. Thanks, I got this because I am the one who is orchestrating this. I'm the one who's in control, and ultimately I am my own provider. Andy, how long is it going to take you? How long is it going to take you to get this? Will you really trust me? Oh, there's nothing wrong with a side hustle. There's nothing wrong with trying to get ahead. There's certainly nothing wrong with paying down debt and figuring out extra ways to do it. But we all know when that thing gets in your heart and it begins to consume you, right? It's different. It's different than God, it starts here with my heart. You are my provider. You are the one in control. Lord, it is my privilege to serve and maybe do a little extra something over here. But at the end of the day, whatever comes my way, I know that you are the one who's in control. In 1 Kings 17, God isn't finished with Elijah despite the fact that he sends him to a ravine. That means he's cut off. It says the word of the Lord came to him again, verse 9, go at once to Zarephath in the region of Sidon and stay there. I've directed a widow there to supply you with food. I didn't even read from verse 4 that to back it up. It says that you're going to drink from this brook, Elijah, and I've directed the ravens to supply you with food there. So God gives at this brook and in this ravine, He gives Elijah a source of water, right? A source of food. But that food is coming from someplace unclean. Ravens. It's gross. But the Bible tells us that even as Elijah is getting sustenance from the brook, the Bible tells us that the brook begins to dry up. And the word of the Lord comes again to Elijah. And so he sends him to the ravine and he gives him a brook. Then we have Elijah. He's drawing from the brook and God dries up the brook. And then he sends him to a widow. Over and over again, what are we seeing here? God is progressively moving Elijah away from anything that he can trust in as his provider. He's consistently moving him away from the ability to control the circumstances of his life so that he will have to trust God as his provider. He will have to trust God as the one who is ultimately in control. He will have no choice. And so God uses a poor, Gentile, pagan widow who has virtually nothing. She's on the verge of dying herself from starvation. And yet God miraculously uses her and her home to provide for Elijah. God, only you could do this. You are my provider, and you are in control. But if we think that that's the only pattern we see of this, look at Abraham, the father of faith in the Bible. God calls him to leave home and to live by a promise. To leave his house. At that point in time, this is unheard of. You don't leave your tribe. You have Joseph, who goes to prison before he ever steps foot in the palace. Right? He's a prisoner, a slave, unjustly imprisoned and having to trust God as his provider. That God would actually be in control despite the fact that he's experiencing such hardship. You have Israel surviving in the wilderness before the promised land. You have Elijah with ravens and a brook and a widow before the rain ever comes. You have Jesus fasting in the wilderness 40 days and 40 nights ever before launching his ministry. What is God doing in these moments? He's teaching his people, his son even, to be fully dependent on him. Andy, how long is it going to take you? The issue isn't how long is it going to take me. You continue to try to control your life, and you continue to try to be your own provider, and you're not. And so God, church, you need to put this in the bank. It's a truth that we do not like. But God will frustrate you in order to create greater dependence in him. Here's what I want you to say. Say this with me. Say, God is my provider. 1, 2, 3. God is my provider. God is in control. 1, 2, 3. God is in control. It's nice to say that. Now we're going to say it a different way. We're going to say, I am not my provider, and I am not in control. Go ahead and take a deep breath. I am not my provider. 1, 2, 3. I am not my provider. And I am not in control. 1, 2, 3. I am not in control. Just that last one right there. That's the one, isn't it? That's the one where you feel the catch in your lungs. I am not. Wait a minute. I don't like how that feels. I don't like the way that's coming out of my mouth. Even this morning, as I was looking back over my notes, I was doing this to myself. I could feel myself not liking what I'm teaching. I'm not in control. I'm not in control. I'm not in control. I am not in control. I'm not my provider. Ultimately, God, you are. And so as we transition in the sermon today, I want you to hear this, practically speaking. I know there are real things to get to. There are real, tangible, practical conversations and resources that we need for things like something like getting out of debt or learning how to manage our money. All that's coming, okay? But where it begins is this place in the heart of recognizing these two truths, that God is my provider and God is in control.